Okay, welcome guys. This is Motivate Otis. My name is Tongai Chichaya. I'm an assistant professor in occupational therapy. And today is a fantastic day. I've got my guest today, Dr. Musharrat Ahmed-Landeryou. She's an associate professor in occupational therapy. So some of you might already know her if you are in the circles of occupational therapy, occupational science. And I see that lovely background that is behind you, Musharrat, the Antiracist Occupational Therapy. So if you don't have that book, make sure you get that book. It's gonna really help us, especially in occupational therapy. So Dr. Musharrat, she's also a co-founder of the BEM-OT UK network. Hopefully in our discussion, I think we'll be bringing in bits and pieces about this network and how it's also a strong tool in terms of the work that we're going to be discussing about. So Dr. Musharrat's interests are around anti-racism, equity, decolonizing curriculum, particularly in institutions of higher education and learning. And of course, she is also the first person to bring up a book in occupational therapy specifically addressing anti-racism called the Antiracist Occupational Therapy, Unsettling the Status Quo. We shall be discussing about these issues today. Without wasting much time, Musharrat, I want to give you a chance to just introduce yourself to our audience in your own words, please.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that generous introduction. That was lovely. Thank you so much. I guess, yeah, my name is Musharrat Ahmed-Landeryou. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a woman of Bangladeshi Muslim heritage and a British national. I'm an academic of 22 years and I acknowledge the power and privilege of having that role. I am co-founder of BAME OT UK, a campaigning network of Black and minoritized occupational therapy students, staff, and educators for anti-racism in the profession and training. And I just want to add my audio description of my appearance, of myself. I have dark shoulder length hair with a heavy short fringe. I'm wearing a large square purple glasses and I'm dark skinned. I have a floral shawl wrapped around me and I'm wearing a headset with a protruding thin mic on the left side of my face. So, yeah, I'm an academic, a scholar, a thought leader pursuing the embedding of decolonizing occupational therapy training and its professional bodies, but also really across allied health education. Uh, and this work is tough. It's tough work trying to embed this in non-traditional pedagogical work because occupational therapy, um, I guess the community is still quite silent on the topic of racism, institutional racism, anti-Black racism, anti-Muslim racism. Really, the silence is quite deafening. There's hardly any discussions or research on the topic, and where there are, it's usually white leaders doing the research more for career advancement rather than embodying the change and rolling up their sleeves to do the hard work collaboratively and also lifting people up and putting forward Black and minoritized researchers, you know, and it's just difficult to be an activist in this work, knowing that there's not many people doing that work. It feels lonely sometimes. But, I would say if you want to know more, and it's a plug of my article for you, if you go to the Journal of Occupational Science, there is a titled article by me. It's award-winning, impact awarded by the Journal of Occupational Science, a critical reflection from inside, looking back and forward, theorizing perspectives on decolonizing occupational science theory and practice. I guess I should describe what decolonizing education is. And I take it from that article where I put this description of decolonizing
Yeah,
education.
that's fine.
And
So the
it's by
article, I'll just put
Wilson.
it in the description. That's fine. I'll put the details of the articles in the description for this video.
So decolonizing is the intelligent, calculated, and active resistance to the forces of colonialism that perpetuates the subjugation and or exploitation of our minds, bodies, and lands, and it is engaged for the ultimate purpose of overturning the colonization structure and realizing liberation. And that's a description from Wilson and Bird, 2005. And that's because colonization is about power, privilege, and oppression. Colonization prioritizes Western domination and the spreading of Western ideas as the supreme and right source of knowledge. This results in every person being evaluated against a colonial yardstick to determine who is valuable as a human being. This hierarchy of power and privilege favors traits such as white, male, Christian, Eurocentric, heterosexual, able bodied, educated, affluent, English speaking, English accent, and I'm sure you could add more. And we see the concept of the colonial yardstick in occupational therapy practice, with occupational therapy practitioners prioritizing Western norms and values as a benchmark for good practice. And that is in most parts of the world because the World Federation approves courses built on this Eurocentric education and training. So I hope that's a useful kind of intro into my work and why I'm doing it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So now, you've already said that this work is very difficult. But what drives your passion? Why spend your energies on this?
My students.
Right.
Students, they don't know their power sometimes. They are the future and the next occupational therapy communities. If students really had not come to me in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, rest in power, I would have carried on thinking I was doing the good work well. They threw the gauntlet down. They asked me what was I doing with my power and privilege to change their experiences. Why were universities quiet, ignoring their pain of this on repeat televised lynching? It made me pause quite abruptly. I felt sad, I felt pain, and I thought, that's really selfish. I needed to pause to reframe what I was doing in education and then find a way to rebuild going forwards. And decolonizing was my rebuild. Transformation means coming out of struggle, and radical means, you know, doing different from the status quo. And for me, decolonizing was both that transformational and it was radical. And it made me realize that what I was doing before was performative. It was the easy stuff, just imparting knowledge, just enabling them to see this Eurocentric occupational therapy, no questioning, just giving all of that. And I know decolonizing is just an approach. It's not for everyone, but you have to live it. It's not for being performative. It's not for play acting. The work is relational. You know, it's about collaborations, it's about bringing people with you, but also about being firm and telling the truth. The work exposes you to the haters, though, I have to add that have been lurking in occupational therapy. And I have to stay stalwart and focused and not let them stop me, because that is what they want. They want to shake my focus. And it is sad that these people occupy spaces in the caring profession. But I tell you what, their hate has fueled my hope for a better way of being and doing occupational therapy and allied health education. So, yeah, students are my energy battery, and without them, there is little light.
Yeah, yeah, great, great. I mean, I can tell from your response that there are a lot of issues that you've encountered, you individually as a person. But I want to move to uh, the book Antiracist Occupational Therapy, Unsettling the Status Quo. What brought about this, that this book should come into existence?
Yeah.
What are the problems? What are some of the solutions? You know, if you have
Mhm.
any examples of some of the work in terms of the impact that it's making, it would be great if you can share.
Yeah. I will share some of that. And I would say the book came about because I was very vocal on Twitter about all the professional bodies and their silence and their diplomacy of neutrality that's more harmful than good. You know, you either care for people or you don't. You don't then put a but in that. And I think when I said all that, it caught fire. I think you were there, Tonga, as well. We had a few
Yeah,
conversations as well, didn't we? And
yeah,
then a lot of people started communicating with me, and I was like, I want to capture some of the things they're saying. How am I going to capture it? And I just didn't ever think about a book. And then Sheila Ivlev, the powerhouse occupational therapist, she
yeah,
said to me, "Oh, I've just started writing a book. Why don't you get in contact with this publisher and just pitch your thoughts? It doesn't have to be fully formed." So I
yeah,
did, and they were like, "Yes, this sounds like a great book. There isn't anything on the market. All about capitalist gain, isn't it? There isn't anything
yeah,
on the
yeah,
market. Let's get this on the market." And people were so, I tell you, Tonga, people were so generous. I asked, we got more people than we needed, but then people were okay about not being on the book. And it was very good. It's so good. It's so good. And I'm saying that I know as the editor, but the reviews have been so good. The sales have been
yeah,
so good. I'm just grateful people are interested. But of course, firstly, I'm going to say you need to go and read the book. I'm not going to tell you everything.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
But let me give you a few flavor points. One of the things I can tell you personally, and it's not in the book, is the work I'm doing at my institution has really been significant in changing the racialized awarding gap. We've seen quite a marked change across the school, but also very much in occupational therapy, where we've turned it into a minus, which means that our Black and minoritized students are getting those higher classifications than our white students. So if you do put your mind to it and you do work at it, there's some benefits, you know, there. And because you're meeting those metrics, then it's like a a circle, right? You meet the metrics, then the university comes with you even more, and they support you even more to keep improving and sustaining the good work. So,
Wow.
on a very practical level, there is some change, and other universities who are doing it have similar changes as well. And at my institution, we've taken a whole institution approach, not piecemeal, doing it in a model or doing it in the curriculum. The whole university is engaged in decolonizing as well as EDI, and they're two separate things at our university. They're not the same. But the thing from the book is we talk about how whiteness is built into the system, and because of that, what you do get is leadership that is predominantly white in occupational therapy and occupational science, and um, also people who are pushed forward in getting research grants and um, doing research and publishing research, they seem to be predominantly white, and that's because whiteness is in the system. And when I say whiteness, I mean that the system, the policies, processes, the culture, it's all facing towards supporting the white population within the institution. Um, and that's why you have to then disrupt the whiteness in the system. And yes, how do you do that? Yes, at the shop floor, you can find the data and you can make noise and bring attention to the problems, um, and advice about what change needs to be carried out. But that won't actually make the change. You need to pull on leaders who have the power and privilege to make the change, who hold the resources and the monies, right? Because you do need that to help you make the change. Just putting you on a treadmill of identifying the problems and suggesting changes won't actually make the change happen. Yeah. And how do we grab these people with the money? You know,
That's the
it's
big
something
question.
again. It's something again in the book that we bring up in a chapter where we talk about critical race theory, and we bring in the idea of interest convergence. Yes, we have to find that link of what matters to these people from what we're doing, and what matters to them is money, saving time, improving customer experience, meeting the metrics. I mean, I know it's all capitalist humdrum, but we're in this capitalist world, right? So we have to see how our work is going to enable you know the money concerns, the saving time concerns, the improving of customer satisfaction, we call that student satisfaction in higher education, and meeting those metrics, like I said about the racial awarding gap. But there's also these things called B3 metrics, which is, for example, around how many students go from year one to year two, right? So these are things that matter. And that's why I started the decolonizing with my manager support. I'd already set up the institutional support by getting decolonizing into the curriculum quality framework and the academic board approving the vision statement. So they were all on board. And then they sort of waited and said, okay, go on then, go and do decolonizing in your school and let's see what happens. And I said to them, this is not a quick win. It's going to take a few years, but with the help of students who we pay, who come around the table, and you center Black and minoritized students. It's not every student. Decolonizing is about centering Black and minoritized students. And then also the staff in the main coming with me, we are now able to reap benefits and see changes. Right. So that's really important. But also, as well as doing that institutional stuff, I do put myself out there, like working with the Royal College of Occupational Therapists, RCOT, and being very central to their building their equality, diversity, and belonging policy that they published. And also Elizabeth Casson Trust, their strategic intentions. I was very much part of that building in relation to their equality and diversity strategic intention as well. So you do have to do a multi-pronged approach. It can't just be just one area. You have to work with people and get them to work with you in all different areas to make the work in your institution actually reap benefits.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I've got a question around, you mentioned the Russia awarding gap. And I get that one. Now I'm thinking in terms of the experiences. Now we're talking in terms of students, their experiences through the journey of training to become occupational therapists. The awarding the racial awarding gap is one aspect, but I'm interested in knowing issues to do with the actual experiences of the students from Black and minoritized ethnic groups. What sort of problems have you found, and how do you usually address these issues?
Yeah, so over the years there, and this is in uh, published data and things like that. It's not unique to one institution. It's just exists across the board, like the racial warding gap. There's issues in all universities around belonging for Black and minoritized students, but also professional courses where they have to do placements. There are concerns around microaggression and things like that um, from the placement, whether that be from the service users or patients or from the actual staff around them, not necessarily occupational therapy staff. But and again, it's this multi-pronged action. So with the Black and minoritized students in our decolonising action working group, and with the lead of placement innovation, what we started doing was collecting these equality diversity incidents. And it's not always about racism, it might be about disability, it might be about you being in a particular community. And so we collected this EDI incident log, just like a datex. And I learned that from going to a Royal College of Occupational Therapists webinar by Simone Welsh on EDI, logging EDI incidences, which was really interesting. The video is still up on the Royal College of Occupational Therapists website if you want to watch it. It's very informative. She was very innovative in what she did. But that helped me think about what we were doing. And with the students and the lead placement innovation person, we were able to then build this easily accessible EDI log, and it is accessed by the staff and not students as yet. But the students can say the incident, we can show them how we're going to report it into the EDI log, and then we report it. And what you build up is patterns and trends. And then you can go to the trust and say, hey, look, our students are coming to you and this is their experiences, repeating themes coming through. This is becoming problematic. We shouldn't be harming our students who come to your placements. And so, and we have done that. And the previous dean did go to a trust and did have that difficult conversation with them and said that we couldn't really at that time send the students there because it was really harming them. And you know what? The After the initial, because it hurts, so you get defensive, they actually came with us and worked with us and did some amazing changes. So then we could then put our students back with them because they understood that students are our future. If we don't have them, we're not going to have the next generation of allied health professions. So that's one of the things we did. And the belonging, we're still sitting with the students and discussing that because it's such a multi-component concept, isn't it? And the students are themselves grappling with it and trying to understand it themselves when they say that. What is it they mean? And we know there's some research out there on belonging in higher education for Black and minoritized students. I think Hammond did quite a nice paper on physiotherapy students, and we're building up a picture slowly because we want to get this right, because there's always been tweaking around the edges in the HEI sector around that. So just like decolonizing, you have to take a sort of phased approach, understand what's going on, identify what could be the um, root causes creating this unbelonging, and then go to one of those actionable points and work with the students in building a way forward. But we're still in that trying to understand, I think, uh, phase at the moment. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So, I'm looking at the way you address this, starting with the incident logs. So there's a clear pathway that both staff and students can actually see that these are the steps that will be followed until the issue has been resolved, or
Yeah,
until.
and the wonderful thing about the incident log is it says about who reported it, which is a student, who was around the student when the incident happened, right? Who was there, but also a few other things, but also it says what action did we take? You know, what
that's
was the
that's very
actions
important.
we
Yeah,
took?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's recorded so that we can go back to the students and hold ourselves accountable instead of saying, thank you very much for
yeah,
that log.
yeah. There's a recent study that I did with one of my former postgraduate students. It Some of it, they were looking at experiences of Black occupational therapy students.
Mm,
This is a UK context, obviously, that we are discussing. So something that was coming through from the responses was that they were saying, well, even if something happens, I would rather not report it, because I feel like the system is not going to help me.
yeah,
How would you address such concerns?
yeah, yeah. It's historical, that, and it's generational, that kind of mistrust of systems, you know. And you can only change that if you show up and say, this is different. I'm not just asking you to tell me about what happened to you. I want you also to advise me what you want me to do, okay? Even if you think, oh no, even if you're so fearful that, you know, it will make you look in a bad light or whatever, it's important that we show up for the student, because the system is so good at collecting data and absorbing so much data, and then not doing anything with it. We have to show up for the students that we're breaking that and doing something about it, right? So, and sometimes, and you have to be truthful to the student, there isn't anything to do because it's not clear cut. And you can't, as Roger Klein says, you can't prove racism or discrimination with one incident. It has to be a pattern. Yeah. So
It has to be a pattern.
yeah, and one of the things that is hard for students is that we'll say, well, that's one in that place that we've got now. Now we're collecting it. We will also talk to the educator and say, this is our concerns, but the actual change cannot happen with one incident,
Right, right.
because everyone will bat that as it's a bad day. They're not usually like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you get a pattern, you can't really bat that away because
Oh,
it's repeating. Yeah. So
I
that's
see.
an important thing. And being truthful, you know, that's why decolonizing to me is very important. It talks about telling truth. Even if every fiber of your body is scared, you have to tell the truth. Because if you don't, nothing will change.
Wow, wow. Right. So I'm thinking now in terms of, I mean, I'm an educator myself, but I'm thinking in terms of um, educators in different institutions. Maybe, of course, we're discussing the UK context, but it may apply maybe to other Western countries where Black students and students from minoritized ethnic groups are less numbers, are less in numbers. So I'm trying to figure out from your understanding. So if somebody is an educator and they're watching this video and they are thinking, gosh, this is a very difficult topic for us to tackle, because I know across the UK, for example, most of the OT programs, there aren't many academics from Black and other minoritized ethnic groups. So probably people are genuinely wanting to do something about it, but the OT programs are like, where do we really start? This is a sensitive area. This is a scary area. You know, what would be your sort of like advice in terms of maybe the key steps at high level that institutions or occupational therapy programs within the UK could
Yeah.
maybe consider?
So I think there's multiple things that need to be done, right? So um, I've got a WhatsApp group for decolonizing occupational therapy education. It's got
Right.
educators across the nation in there, and we stumble, fumble, and work together. We've had some people sort of leave because they're like, I don't think I can do this. This is not for me. And that's fine. You know, that's truth, right? That's fine. But what we try and do, like we try and disseminate information about what we're doing as a group and in our own institution. So we did RCOT 2022, we did a presentation. We've put in abstracts for the Occupational Science Europe. We don't know if we've got any bites with that, but that's how we try and do that. We're also considering maybe webinars, but we're not too sure if that's the right way to go. And the other thing is I do have a fee-paying workshop that's based with my institution where we support organizations, services, and departments to transform using the anti-racism or decolonizing approach. Now, so far, I haven't had any higher education institutes come to me. It's been mostly NHS organizations. So it would be good if, even if we get a occupational therapy course, to purchase that, and I work with them for a year in transforming their curriculum, which would be good because at the moment it's like just broadly NHS services or allied health services. And I'm enjoying it because I'm doing what I like doing,
Yeah, yeah. It's
embedding this
it's
out
actually
there
good
and
to know that,
widening it
yeah,
out.
it's actually good to know that even within NHS trusts and institutions of higher learning, it's still applicable. What the work that you're doing, you can still help organizations through that. Okay, that's
Mm.
brilliant. That's brilliant. Great. Yeah, I know our time is running, so I want to move on. Uh, of course, this is a huge topic, and definitely there's no way we can exhaust it in just one discussion. But I
Mm.
want to move on to ask you about you kept on saying the students are the future, the students of the future. I want to ask you about the future of occupational therapy and the future of occupational science. How do you see
Mm.
the future?
Oh, this is my sort of like, if everything if I got everything I wanted, then it would be that I want to see a diversity of leaders and researchers. I want to see research on anti-racism, racism, decolonizing in occupational therapy and science that have Black and minoritized leads. I want to see curriculum that has the world represented in its content, in the authorship of literature, and in the diversity of the lecturer groups in the West, right? I want it to be the norm that fellowships and other awards are not just for the white persons in occupational therapy and science communities. And I know there are people who are black and minoritized getting those awards, but they're few and far between. And I want none of what I'm saying to be the exception. I want it to be business as usual, right? And occupational therapy, it needs to do better, much better.
Yeah, yeah. But do you think the future is bright? If not, why? What could be done?
Is the future bright? We always have to end on a rosy ending, but Tonge, it's a hard ride, yeah, and we still haven't got majority coming with us. The majority are silent. There are few collaborators across the racialized bar that are coming together, and we will make noise and it will change. But is it going to change in my lifetime? No. Yeah. It's coming though,
Mhm,
because people are telling their students, and the students that it sticks with, that it matters to take it with them. I've seen and still in touch with so many students that are doing the good work and have not let go
mhm.
since they left me. But there's got to be more,
Yeah,
much more. Like I say, across the racialized divide, it's got to be more people. And is the future bright? In the far distance?
I see. It requires a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm not gonna end this session before I ask you a little bit about the BMOT UK network. Can you just briefly talk about it? What is it about? And if people want to join, how do they join?
Yeah, it's a network, and I'll give you the link to join. We've got a website where people can join. It is a network of volunteers. So um, our work is slow because people, it's all about black and brown people having to put on a lot of effort and on top of our daily lives. So, but we do a lot of things, and the speed and haste is depending on who's available. But it is, like I said, black and minoritized occupational therapy students, staff, and educators who volunteer in this network. We are trying to disrupt the racism within the occupational therapy um, practice in education and in the professional bodies as well. And those professional bodies are the people who make the policy for us and the standards for us. So we really need to campaign for change there. And yes, we put was a key in making that equality, equity, diversity, and belonging policy. But the disheartening thing was that it was built on the already what I call corrupted foundation. They should have broken that up and embedded their policy in that and built upwards, but they didn't. But what the BMOT UK network does is we support students if they're having a challenging time in higher education or on placement. We help with practicing interviews because we want more and more of our black and minoritized qualified occupational therapists to go up the ladder. And we've had lots of success there, actually, lots of stories there. We provide mentorship when there's availability. Um, I've got too many, but I enjoy all of them. And also we do some webinars and some teaching sessions, depending on volunteers what they want to do, what they want to share as well. And we have got a BAME OT UK YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to as well,
Yeah,
which has lots of helpful webinars and videos on there. It also has recordings of our first inaugural BAME OT UK symposium that we did.
yeah,
So the recordings are there as well. Yeah, so that's how you can get in touch with us. It's through our website, and then you can put your name in and say you'd like to become part of our network. We graciously accept because we want more and more
yeah,
people to
yeah.
help us. But it has been hard work, and some of our network members do find it difficult to keep up with the demand from outsiders. So yes, we'd like more members, please.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And on that note, I think we've come to the end of this discussion. So yes, there we are, guys. We've been discussing with Dr. Musharrat, Associate Professor in Occupational Therapy. Thank you so much, Musharrat, for making time to come and share your ideas. This discussion, I do believe, it's going to be beneficial to our audience. And I'm glad that you've made reference to some links, and I'm going to put those links in the description for this video. So thank you so much for making your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Tonge, for inviting me as well. I thought I might have difficulty speaking because I'm fasting for Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem to everybody who's fasting out there. And actually, it was fine, and probably a nice distraction for me as well for this day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Musharrat. Okay,
Bye.
guys, it's bye for now.